How much money would it actually take to pay you $5,000 every single month? Not from a job, not from working overtime, not from side hustles, but from your investments, quietly, consistently, in the background. Because $5,000 per month isn't just a random number. For a lot of people, that's life-changing. That covers rent or a mortgage. That covers groceries, bills, and daily living. That's stability. That's breathing room. And for some people, that's freedom. But the real question is, how do you build something that produces that kind of income? And more importantly, how do you do it in a way that's realistic? Not based on hype, not based on luck, but based on a system that actually works over time. So let's slow this down and really walk through it step by step. Because once you understand the numbers and the process behind them, this stops feeling impossible and starts feeling like a plan. First, we need to define the goal clearly. $5,000 per month equals $60,000 per year. That's the target. Not a guess, not a hope. A real number that your investments need to produce. Now the next step is understanding how investments generate income. Because not all investments are designed to pay you. Some rely only on growth. Some require you to sell, but something like SCHD is different. SCHD focuses on dividend-paying companies, which means instead of relying on selling your shares, you're getting paid for owning them. And that's a completely different approach. Now let's talk about yield. Because this is where the math starts to come together. SCHD has historically yielded around 3%, sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower. But 3% is a realistic number to work with. So if your goal is $60,000 per year and your portfolio yields 3%, you would need around $2 million invested. Now pause for a second. Because I already know what most people are thinking. That's impossible. That's too far away. That's not realistic for me. And that reaction is completely normal. But it's also the reason most people never even start. Because they focus on the final number instead of the path to get there. And that's what we're going to shift right now. Because you don't build $2 million overnight. You build it over time. Step by step. Layer by layer. And more importantly, you don't need the full $2 million to start feeling the benefits. This is not an all-or-nothing situation. This is a progression. So let's break it down into stages. Because this is where it becomes real. At $100,000 invested, you might generate around $3,000 per year. That's about $250 per month. Not life-changing, but real. That's a bill covered. That's proof that the system works. At $250,000, now you're around $7,500 per year. About $625 per month. Now it's noticeable. Now it's helping. At $500,000, now you're around $15,000 per year. That's $1,250 per month. Now we're talking about meaningful income. Something that actually reduces pressure in your life. At $1 million, now you're around $30,000 per year, $2,500 per month. Now you're halfway to your goal. And at $2 million, now you're at $60,000 per year, $5,000 per month. That's the full picture. But here's what matters most. Every step along the way matters. Every level gives you more freedom, more flexibility, more control. Now let's talk about how you actually get there, because this is where people feel stuck. They think they need a high income. They think they need perfect timing. They think they need to wait for the right moment. But none of that is true. What you need is consistency. Let's say you invest $500 per month. That's $6,000 per year. Now on its own, that might not feel like much. But when you combine it with time, with reinvested dividends, and with market growth, something powerful starts to happen. Your money starts to build momentum. And momentum is what changes everything. Because in the beginning, you are doing all the work. You're contributing. You're building. You're pushing the system forward. But over time, the system starts working for you. Your dividends increase. Your reinvestments grow. And eventually, your portfolio starts doing more than you are. That's the turning point. That's when things start to feel different. Now let's make this even more relatable. Imagine two people. One person starts investing today. The other person waits 5 years. Same strategy, same amount invested. But one started earlier. That person will almost always end up ahead. Not because they invested more, but because they gave their money more time. And time is the most powerful factor in this entire process. Now let's talk about real life. Because this isn't just numbers on a screen. This is about your daily experience, your stress levels, your options. Imagine your investments covering your car payment, then your groceries, then your rent, then your entire lifestyle. That's how this builds. Not all at once, but piece by piece. And every step forward makes your life a little easier. Now let's talk about what stops people. Because this is where most people fall off. The market drops. Fear kicks in. They stop investing. Or they sell. And when they do that, they break the system. Because this only works if you stay consistent, through the ups, through the downs, through the uncertainty. That's the discipline required. Not perfection, consistency. Now imagine your future. You stayed consistent. You followed the plan. You didn't chase every new trend. You didn't quit when it felt slow. And because of that, your portfolio grew. Your income increased. And now your investments are paying you $5,000 per month. Not because you got lucky, but because you stayed consistent. That's the difference. That's the outcome. And it all started with one decision: to begin. If you want to reach $5,000 per month, now you know the path. Now you know the numbers. Now you know the system. The only question left is whether you'll stay consistent long enough to get there. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Simple